Welcome to the Healthy Perspective Podcast with your host, chiropractor, entrepreneur, mentor, and author, Dr. Chris Bowman. He'll break down and extract the secret sauce behind his own success and the success of some of the top leaders in every category and from around the world. Get ready for your weekly mental adjustment because shift is going to happen.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Healthy Perspective Podcast. Today is special. We are giving you a sneak peek of an exclusive interview I did with my mentor, Peter Voogd, the authority to millennial entrepreneurs. He launched his new book this week, 7 Rules to 7 Figures, and it is absolutely game-changing. And so to show him some support, I'm releasing a sneak peek of our interview to you guys, about 10 to 15 minutes or so. If you want the full video interview, then you can join the Perspective Launch team and get entered for the email list where you're going to be getting that video. So enjoy this interview with Peter. Today we are so honored and privileged to have Peter Voogd with us. He's a best-selling author. He's an international speaker. He's been called upon by the best of the best to speak to their employees at their conferences on peak performance, mindset, and really a lot of the stuff that he's saying on Instagram and social media and in his book, I just really resonate with. And it's a lot of the stuff that's in my book, as well. And it's not necessarily that one perspective is better than the other as much as having the perspective that life is abundant is the most important thing to have. And so I'm so thankful for Peter because he has really instilled that in me, and I've taken that and done, what we do now. Peter, thanks so much for joining us. I am so stoked to get on this call with you and really help the people listening upscale their life to, not even just 10x, but beyond what they could ever dream.
Thanks, man. I'm excited to be here, and I'm doing this because of your work you've done, who you are as a person, how amazing the book is. I rarely do podcasts these days. We have 202, so life is crazy, but honored and excited to give value to your audience because they're the type of people that actually do want to live an amazing lifestyle, live an abundant lifestyle, and really live a world-class life. So yeah. I'm all yours.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. One of the biggest things that I think would be super helpful for people is that transition from, what my goal is to help people through that transition period. Like, I'm stuck. I know I'm meant for more. This isn't the life for me. This isn't the story that I think I am supposed to live. I want to write my own story. But then that transition from security of a job or from security from school or security from home into I'm taking life into my own hands, I think is really scary. And it requires a lot of different skill sets that you only find out, by making mistakes. And so what I want to help people do is shortcut those, mistakes and talk about how to have a vision. What is it like to think beyond just clocking in tomorrow? What is it like to, think like an entrepreneur beyond just your immediate needs? And that's something that you've done so well, leading a team, leading a sales team. And so I'd love to just start with that and then get into what I feel like, or what you feel like would be the most valuable for people listening.
First of all, I can resonate because I've been there. And if you're someone that doesn't have clarity, I know how tough it is. It's hard to not see a couple months down where your life's going to be. It's demotivating to not have clarity on where you're going and know what you're doing is purposeful and you're living a meaningful life that you're made to live. It's stressful. When I transitioned out into entrepreneurship years ago, Chris, I spent months, almost a year, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, how to gain clarity, how to have a vision, how to think ahead, how to think different, how to build and design my life. So I'm hoping to distill that. It was a stressful year. I was frustrated. I feel like I let people down. I did all these things that other people said I shouldn't be doing in terms of like dropping out of business school and trying to pursue my vision. And it was stressful, but I found through a lot of self-discovery, a lot of the right questions, a lot of simplification, reading books, audios, joining courses, programs. I literally spent a year doing all that. And I've simplified it now to like a formula that I feel helps. And moving with clarity, moving with purpose and a vision is such a difference in fulfillment and attitude and success and confidence. I want everyone to experience it. Yeah. There's nothing worse than moving without clarity. Like fuzzy thinking creates fuzzy motivation. And there's so much noise out there. It's important to kind of get rid of the noise and simplify to what really matters, because most things don't in the next couple of years. So I would love to dive in right then to the vision. I think a lot of people, including myself, the first thing is they don't know what they want.
Right.
So if I say, and we talked about this at one of the events that you were at, where do you want to be if me and you were hanging out in 1 or 2 years? What would have to happen for you to be excited and satisfied and fulfilled about your life?
Yeah.
And you have to create an ideal vision. Here's the kicker. When I kept writing down my vision, the only thing that came out of my head and on the notepad was my past experiences and my past limitations and my current reality. The exercise doesn't work if you base everything off your past.
Yeah.
You have to base it off 2 things: what's possible and your potential. Yeah. There's never in human history, Chris, been a time like right now to create and design your ideal life. The opportunities are absolutely astronomical right now. And we both know people. I know people in my academy, in my inner circle, friends, people I'm connecting with, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds making 100K a month, making $1 million a month, crushing it. So there's so much success out there, but everything starts with vision and what you think is possible. So that's the first thing, is understanding there's unlimited potential. We know this, but our past sometimes doesn't let us allow us to actually create a vision with potential. Right. So there's unlimited potential. If you fully believe there's unlimited potential and a lot of opportunity, if you fully believe that, you will take bigger action and execute your vision. If you do believe and execute your vision, you'll get results and it'll reinforce to your beliefs. Oh, of course I could do this. But it's the opposite effect. For a lot of people, when I ran a sales company, if people didn't have beliefs that they could do sales, if there was a parent that said, oh, don't do that, you got to take the normal traditional route, get a 9 to 5, don't do that. Right. Their potential in what's possible is low. Then they trick themselves and they don't take any action. Right. And then they don't get results. And then they say, you know what? My mom was right. I'm not made for entrepreneurship. I'm made to be average. Everything starts with perspective, which is why the second you told me the name of your book, I got chills and I got excited. The second you told me, I was like, think about it. 1 or 2 perspective shifts can yield someone an extra 100K for the year. It can yield them a whole new life, a whole different way of viewing success, and a whole different level of happiness. 1 perspective shift. Now, me personally, I'm from a super small town in Oregon, off the Oregon coast, 6,000 people. I didn't have any mentors. If you would have told me I was even going to ever touch 6 figures, I would have laughed in your face because I wasn't from that environment, right? Everyone's like, get a 9 to 5. But once I clocked into a different circle of influence and understood the power of vision, everything changed. So that's the first step, is understanding, what do you want? Yeah. What do you want? Like, what is your ideal outcome? Don't base it off your past or don't base it off your perspective that you've had in the past. Don't base it off false philosophies or how you grew up or what your parents said. Base it off what's possible and what your potential is. That's the first step, number 1. I'll keep diving into the steps because I feel like at the end I'll have clarity, but you can interrupt me anytime if you feel like something you want to dive deeper into. Yeah. That's the first step. Figure out who you are and what you want.
I feel like, when you talk about write down what's possible, it's important, like you said, you don't make that off your past perspective, because what's possible right now is not what's going to be possible in a couple of years if you take those steps. 100%. It's interesting. I was at a chiropractic seminar a couple of years ago. I brought my wife with me, and the guy, up front said, if money and time weren't limits in your life, like, what would you want? What would you do? And I got, all these things, written down. I look over at my wife's paper, and she's got basically a house and a picket fence. Like, you know what I mean? So if I just had a house, that would be good. I think there's a lot of people out there that feel bad writing out things bigger than what they're used to have, or feel bad writing about, I want a mansion, or I want a $10 million this, or I want, they feel bad, like they're not supposed to have those things, because people that have those are, in a sense, bad people, or, in a sense, don't think about
the story they tell themselves.
You know what I mean? So how do you get past the lies ultimately of having maybe not what's possible right now, but what can be possible in the future? What's possible for other people? How do you, in a sense, tear off that old wallpaper and put new paint on the walls where it's like, this is what I want?
It's reality checking yourself, and it's realizing you can't do it all at once.
Yeah.
It's a process. It's a journey. So I've had to tear down so many limitations from my past, so many false beliefs from my childhood. As you elevate your vision and your circle of influence, those things grow. I realize I used to think the same thing. I don't want $1 million. That's scary. People with money are greedy. Yeah. No, that was my perspective in the story I told myself because of one episode I watched of American Greed, and someone's greedy. Mm-hmm. Money is not emotional. Money is not good or bad.
Yeah.
It's people, right? So your perception of people is off because of your past.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you just have to really reality check yourself and ask yourself, what story are you telling yourself about how you can live? And for me, when I started understanding potential, it changed my perspective. Like if you realize the power of potential, and most people use 6% of their potential, and when they're stressed, they use 2%. You'll realize that if all you want to picket fence, you don't understand potential.
Right.
Not that you're a bad person, you just don't understand human potential. And the number one motivator in life, motivation as in fulfillment, feeling good, progress, confidence, self-worth, success, mentality, comes from progress and pushing yourself. Mm-hmm. So if someone says, all I want is this, when you get this, you're going to die inside after a couple of years because you're not pushing yourself at all or challenging yourself.
Right. Yeah.
So that's where that came. And that doesn't, I can't just say it to somebody. They're like, oh, I get it. Yeah. You have to experience it. You have to just, I experienced it through failures, through frustrations, through people doubting me, through going broke, through having no choices, all kinds of things that I experienced. I asked myself, what can I learn? And what's the perspective shift here? So it's just a learning experience. So once I finally got that vision, now this is hard to do because when I write down the vision, here's the kicker. I think this will really put things in perspective and help people. When I wrote down that ideal vision for myself, it was like a couple paragraphs, like exactly what I wanted, why I wanted it, and what was ideal for me based on potential and no limitations. When I looked at that, I didn't fully believe I could do it. I didn't believe I could do it. So people are like, you have to believe. I don't even like the advice too much about you have to believe all the time. I didn't believe in myself. So how can you believe if you've never achieved it? So here's the kicker though. When I looked at my goals, I still looked at my one-page plan daily, and I'll share this plan with everybody. It's the one-page plan for your life and business. It's the one-page masterpiece, I call it. I looked at it. I didn't believe I could do it, but I still looked at it daily and took action like I did believe until my belief caught up. So that's the first thing. When you look at that, you don't have to fully believe right away. If you're at a 9-to-5 and you want to become an entrepreneur and travel the world and make 6 figures or 7 figures, replace your income, you want to live a happier life, you want to be free and autonomous, you don't fully right now have to believe you're going to achieve that.
Right.
But as you take the little steps and start elevating your circle of influence and who you're around, you start reading more books like yours. You start uncovering little past limitations that you've had. You'll start to believe slowly. But to tell someone you have to believe right away, I just think that's too tough to do. I don't think I believed in myself fully till after I was making $200,000 or $300,000 a year. Super strange.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's the first step, is whether you believe or not, whether you think it's possible or not is irrelevant. Start thinking bigger. You have to think anyways. You might as well think big. That's the first step.
Thank you for listening to the Healthy Perspective Podcast. To connect with Dr. Bowman, follow him on Instagram @Dr. Chris Bowman. Until next time, make shift happen.